Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasudrisham Tadvamasthyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, tonight we confront the biggest question of our times. Why are Hindu temples and Hindu gurus and Hindu institutions' temples being relentlessly targeted? Shri Kshetra Dharmasthala, a temple visited by 7.5 million pilgrims, devotees every year, has been branded as a crime scene, based on the words of a masked sanitation worker carrying a random skull. 17 sites has been dug. 30 days of relentless digging, millions wasted, and headlines screaming mass graves, rapes, murders at the temple. And today, nothing found. Zero, zilch. But by then, the damage has been done. Devotees have been humiliated. A revered Hindu institution dragged through the mud. And I ask tonight, who benefits when the faith of 2 billion Hindus is attacked? Because this is not an isolated case. This exact script, fake witnesses, planted evidence, breathless media hysteria, lawfare, has been used against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam as well, and the sovereign Hindu nation of KAILASA. If Dharmasthala can be branded as a sin, as a crime scene, just overnight, which temple is next? Which Hindu guru is next? This is not about one Hindu temple. This is about a 70-year-old war against Sanatan Hindu Dharma, ethnocide and genocide of Hindus. And tonight we are going to expose the machinery. And joining me tonight, we have the voices who represent the voice of the truth, the voice of Dharma, and the voice of millions of Hindus worldwide. We have here with us Ma Nitya Prematma Nanda and Ma Nitya Dhyanatma Nanda as well. So let us begin with Ma Nitya Prematma Nanda. I would like to ask you, was Dharmasthala attacked, or was it Sanatan Hindu Dharma itself under trial? Yes, so
Nithyanandam, see, I wanted to point out something. Dharmasthala is not just a temple. It is a living testament to interfaith harmony, where a Jain, a Shaivite, everyone can come together, Vaishnavite priests. It's a model for Hindu inclusivity. Dr. Hegde ji and his lineage have served millions through Anadan, education, healthcare. The very idea of branding Dharmasthala as a mass graveyard is an insult to centuries of Hindu seva. SPH Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam has always stood in solidarity with Dharmasthala. Kailasa's delegation just recently personally met with Dr. Hegde ji, presented offerings and expressed unwavering support. This is a bond that goes through decades and it is unshakable.
But this attack is bigger than one temple. This is an attack on the Hindu identity itself. If Dharmasthala can be reclaimed overnight, no Hindu sacred space is safe.
So, yes, definitely, Ma Prematma. So then the question remains, why hasn't anyone apologized? Why are there headlines now saying that Dharmasthala has been cleared? Why is there no headlines that is saying that Dharmasthala has been cleared? And why is the silence so loud when even the SIT exposed the planted bones and the false witnesses? Why is there still silence? That is the question that we need to really look into.
The whole thing is hoax. Let us start with the so-called whistleblower, the CN Chinnaya. He's a former sanitation worker turned masked trader. He claimed that between 1995 and 2014, he buried hundreds of bodies of rape and murder victims inside the Dharmasthala temple lands. He produced a random skull report as proof. He claimed site number 13 alone had 60 to 100 bodies buried 16 feet deep. And immediately, sections of the media went hysterical. Headlines screamed mass murders, mass burials, temple horrors. But let's pause and ask, where was the who verified this fact? Who confirmed these numbers? And who authorized the trial by media?
Yes, and see, now the facts matter. The special investigation team excavated 17 flagged sites over an entire month and found nothing. And at 2 locations, they found fragments of skeletal remains, and forensic analysis exposed every single lie. The bones that they found belonged to an adult male. Not a single bone belonged to women or minors, as this so-called whistleblower Chinnamai said that these were women who were buried, and the skull, and that is the same skull we are talking about that Chinnai paraded in court. The forensics proved it actually belonged to a man who died 30 years ago, before his allegation that he himself planted it between 1995 and 2014. This man, the skull of the man that was found, died over 30 years ago. And at site number 13, where he screamed that 1,100 bodies were buried 16 feet down, and when the SIT used the penetrating radar to detect, they again found nothing. And again, it was confirmed that there was no mass graves, not at a single location, let alone the skull of a woman, but no mass graves as well has been found. Then comes this the PAN card and the debit card drama, and these evidences supposedly belong to a murder victim, and even for that, the forensics traced them back to a man who actually died of jaundice in 2025, and he was cremated by his own family.
But one second, Malji, a skull from nowhere, PAN cards are hidden magically, bones lying on the ground suddenly discovered. Tell me, is this an investigation or a scripted movie trailer?
Exactly. The confessions that we hear now have changed everything. Chinnaya, the so-called whistleblower, was arrested for perjury. He confessed on record that he was paid in December 2024 to make the false allegations. He admitted even to receiving training in Bengaluru on how to mislead investigators. But he did a damn good job. His words, "I am just a character here. This mastermind is someone else." And it wasn't just him. Sujata Bhatt, another witness, claimed her daughter Arnya Bhatt went missing at Dharmasthala in 2003. Turns out, she never had a daughter. The photograph she used was simply a fake. When confirmed, she confessed she was brainwashed by activists because of a property dispute with the temple.
So basically, they were paid actors, fake daughters, planted skulls, and the media run with this like gospel truth, right?
It's insane. Now, there's another angle. With the advent of AI, we have the digital ecosystem of propaganda on steroids now. Kannada YouTuber Samir MD channel Dutta amplified every lie. Videos, AI-generated content, manipulated photographs, every tactic used to create a mass outrage and spread mass lies and propaganda. Samir was actually booked by police for spreading misinformation and provoking unrest. He's now out on anticipatory bail, but under SIT questioning still. Meanwhile, mainstream media published sensational headlines about the rapes, the murders, mass graves at Dharmasthala. But today, when SIT proves zero evidence, total silence, no retractions, no apologies, not a single headline clearing Dharmasthala's name.
Yes, so see, this isn't journalism. This is basically psychological warfare. So first you defame, then you disappear. Then when the truth comes out. So definitely this is not journalism. This is a well-planned conspiracy to defame an 80-year-old Hindu institution. And so the question is, who funds these networks? This has been a well-elaborated, well-planned conspiracy since at least 2024, where Chinmaya himself confessed that he received training on how to answer to the questions of the police when he's questioned. And who scripts these narratives? Who benefits? And here, this isn't just about facts. This is a narrative war. The masked men's skull that has been proven fake, the 17 sites dug, no mass graves, yet sections of the media ran headlines branding Dharmasthala a house of horrors with not a single evidence, not a single piece of evidence. They've run headlines defaming Dharmasthala, a Hindu institution, and not just another Hindu institution, an 800-year-old Hindu institution. So we have to ask the question, which one is next? Yesterday it was Sabarimala. Today it is Dharmasthala. So tomorrow, is it going to be the Ayodhya Ram Mandir, for which we Hindus fought for over 500 years? This exact method that we are seeing here, weaponized allegations, planted narratives, political pressure, this is the same script that was used against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Swamiji faced false cases, over 120 false legal cases, doctored videos that were proven wrong by international experts. There were paid witnesses, and despite the US courts fully exonerating the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and even the so-called accusers, the so-called victims were fined, deported from the US. They were jailed. The media still demonizes the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. Why? Why is that? The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who represents 2 billion Hindus globally. The answer is very simple. Because destroying Hindu leaders, Hindu gurus, destabilizes the Hindu society. And this is exactly what these paid mafia, anti-Hindu forces are doing.
See, but let's draw the parallels. 17 sites dug at Dharmasthala, dozens of false cases against the Supreme Court, planted boards here, planted videos here. This is not coincidence. This is a blueprint different of how they attack.
Yes, exactly. And see, like we've mentioned, even the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, let's just look at the numbers here. Swamiji, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, whom we lovingly call Swamiji for his extraordinary contribution to the entire humanity. Relentless, selfless contribution. He has faced over 120 false legal cases, over 70 assassination attempts, and over 250 physical attacks, sexual attacks on him and his disciples. And KAILASA, the community, the KAILASA has endured, Swamiji has endured over 17,000 hours of online hate campaigns and more than 25,000 defamatory print articles across 50 countries. This is not accidental. This is a coordinated lawfare and media warfare against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, KAILASA, and Hindu voices worldwide.
Definitely, and I'd like to share a few slides to show the immense contributions to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, because of why he has been persecuted. See, on December 2009, on one side, the Chennai Book Fair was inaugurated, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M. Karunanidhi, and big politicians had played the citizens and halls with crowd. However, just on the opposite side of the road, of the Chennai Book Fair, the largest open ground of Chennai, the 40-acre Satyappa College grounds, the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam delivered a repeat discourse of Bhagavan, in which more than 7 lakh people participated, patiently attending the entire discourse and the 3-day meditation program, waiting day and night for that. Similarly, the SPH delivered hundreds of satsans all over Tamil Nadu for a period of just 2 years. On January 10, 2022, Bhagavad Gita in Tamil. See, the SPH Nithyananda Paramashivam delivered a religious discourse on Bhagavad Gita, in which more than 7 lakh people participated. Patiently attending the entire program, the 3-day meditation, 3 days waiting for darshan day and night. Now, a state intelligence department officer attended the program and informed the Secretary of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nithyananda Paramashivam, that the SPH was noted in their records as the largest crowd-pulling Hindu group in the history of Tamil Nadu.
Yes, see, basically, this sets the context why the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was attacked, why he's been persecuted relentlessly for the past 15 years. And now, I would like to ask Madhyanatma, if you can please, walk us through the persecution of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and KAILASA, so that we are able to understand the amount of atrocities, the amount of defamation by the media, by anti-Hindu forces that was done on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
Yes, thank you so much, Vijayapriya. I wanted to point out, before we jump into the details of the persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, the purpose of bringing this up now is because the Dharmasthala issue is like deja vu. It is literally like the same blueprint. You just copy paste different names, different characters, and it's the same story. But the thing is, in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, it was much more severe, much more rampant, and it lasted years now. So there's a lot to talk about. We're going to try to distill it as easily, as quickly as possible. But what we ask the viewers is to see the parallels. See what is the pattern that the attackers are doing. how they very strategically choose their witnesses, how they very strategically choose their evidences and then make the evidences disappear, how they manipulate the media, how they manipulate the whole entire machinery. So let's get into it. All of this is court data from the US, from India, and all verified, certified documentation that we're showing now in a more presentation format. And just like in the Dharmasthala issue, in the issue of the false cases against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, there was a so-called victim. Now, this victim has flip-flopped her story too many times to count. And in the beginning, she starts off with an email sent in 2009. And we're showing actually excerpts of the email on the screen, where she is questioned by another devotee. Has anything like this happened to you before? And she said, nothing like this has happened to me before. I've never heard of anything like this. Nothing like this has happened to me before. She's blatantly saying that she is not a victim of SPH. She never has been. She has no clue what this person is asking her. That's number one. Number two, she forewarns of a massive persecution lawfare about to happen. And this is all documented in an email that is on court record as evidence in the United States of America and submitted to the courts in India.
Yes, and see, basically this became the base for this entire persecution on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And see, in March 2010, see, first of all, when these so-called victims, Aarti Rao and Vinay Bharadwaj, as how Nithyananda was explaining, they tried to frame the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism for a false rape case that was immediately quashed by 4 US courts and 4 US federal and US courts. But at the same time, because their dirty work didn't work, they fabricated a fake video on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and this was the seed for the relentless attack on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism that started in 2010. And this Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism became the 6th most tweeted about when this fake video was unleashed. As you can see here, this was even published on the print articles. And even after the this fake video, deep fake video, was all over the media, the Hindu music media. Finally, the COO of Sun TV, who was behind the fake video, confessed on national television and sworn affidavit to a US court as well that Sun TV had morphed the deep fake video against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And here on the screen to the right, you can actually see the sworn affidavit by this COO of Sun TV here, where he very specifically mentioned, his name is Dharmaraj Hansraj Saxena, where he very specifically says that Sun TV morphed this video. But even today, the Hindu music media continues to defame the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, because they don't care. These Hindu music elements, when putting false allegations, they don't care about evidence. They know they will not find any evidence. Their only purpose is defamation, because once the defamation happens, once the image is tarnished, that's it. And not a single media channel, when the Supreme Pontiff was exonerated, not a single media channel spoke about it.
Right.
Yes, here you can actually see a video how this was all over the news, on Sun TV as well, and in this video as well, the COO of Sun TV mentions very clearly that this was fabricated by Sun TV.
Exactly. And the thing about it is, in the case of the false cases on the SPH versus the Dharmasthala incident that we're experiencing now, there you had one main witness, a false witness. In the SPH case, you had so many characters coming in, stepping in, trying to get a piece of the pie, trying to get their head in the media, trying to get attention. Who's funding them? We don't know. But they all were weaving these lies because the media allowed it to happen, because it was unchecked and they were allowed to say anything and do anything. In fact, in 2010, one of the complete fabrications that started in 2010 was this deepfake video. This spread virally and it became like actual programming television, but it was a completely deepfake video. And it, just like the Chinmaya said, he is just a pawn and there's a mastermind. Who is a mastermind making these deepfake videos? Who is a mastermind behind all of these fabrications? Now, this is not just us claiming that, oh, it's a deepfake video. 4 US forensic experts independently verified that this video is a complete fraud, it's a complete fake. And these are video and forensic experts who work for the FBI, work for the CIA, and they work for all levels of government, and they do this as their profession. They're not doing it for media, they're not doing it for TRP ratings, they're doing it because it's their honest living. And they all independently determined that this video, this deepfake video, is a complete fake. We'll just go through some of these slides. Edward Primo, he identified that the video images are layered on top of each other, and it's composite layering. This is a technical term in video forensics, which he was able to spot on, identify in this deepfake video. And this shows you how it's done with the green screen and the coordinated composite video layering. David Notowitz pointed out something fundamental in criminal investigation, which is the chain of custody. What happened to this so-called video? Who was handling it? How come there's so many gaps in time where it was handled? This is completely unacceptable in any investigation, that you would have such a horrendous broken chain of custody, where the video was allegedly taken in December 2009 and emerged to the public nearly 3 months later. Is absurd. The chain in this case was broken, not only little but extremely. These are his words directly. Is everyone seeing the parallels to the Dharmasthala case? There's 1,700 graves. It's just ridiculous. Everyone's able to say anything unless it's checked, fact checked. And again, the broken chain of custody was highlighted by Brian Neumeister, who does video forensics all over the US. And he said he uncovered that the identifications of the persons in the video is completely incorrect. It is a fake. And then we have Mr. Herbert Joe. He said this video is not true. The expert's opinion of the undersigned that there is no forensically tenable basis to authenticate the silent video at issue. Fundamentally, what kind of video? If it's an actual video, you just release the video. Why will you release a video with no sound? Because you want to hide something. So these are like obvious glaring errors. Just like in the Dharmasthala case, it's obviously a made-up lie with absolutely no truth to it. But a full onslaught investigation happened, and they were trying to take down a temple that's been there for centuries, doing the seva, doing the anadan, and supporting the community, and being a revenue source for the state, and being a tourism draw for the state. And it was targeted because of what it stood for. Same way, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was targeted for what he stands for, which is Hinduism itself. and they try to do it every which way. Fake video, false witnesses, fake evidences. But when you really look into the depth of the matter, what we find is complete lies, fabrication, and falsehoods.
Yes, definitely, Dhyanatma. And see, now if we look at the legal proofs, the court documents, it's whatever we are saying, it's not, we actually have proofs, legal documents, legal opinions from international lawyers, experts to substantiate all of that. And see, if we look at the case of the so-called fake victim as well, the rape accuser, Vinay Bharadwaj, the court actually deported him after he went. Let me just share, if somebody can project the court document here. Yes, see, if you see here on the right, this is the court document where the US court convicted Vinay Bharadwaj for child rape and sentenced him to 57 months to imprisonment, and then he was ordered to be deported back to India from the US. But the Hindu music media never published these court documents, and these court documents are easily available online. They've even been published more than 22 times by the United Nations. And here also you can see more court documents. This is from the state of Washington, where even the state of Washington convicted Vinay Bharadwaj, the pedophile, for child rape.
Vijaypriya, I wanted to point out here, see, one thing that's different in the Dharmasthala case and the case on SPH is that the same falsehoods told in India were told in the US. And in the US, it was just dismissed left and right. And the case you brought out with Vinay Bharadwaj, his whole defense was him trying to say that he was a victim of SPH. He told all the lies he told in India. He brought all his evidences, which are absolutely zero, and he made all the statements. He even took the stand. No one takes the stand in a criminal case, but he took the stand, and he was allowed to vomit all of his lies. And the judge heard every bit of it and completely said, this is crap, in judge terms, and convicted him. Convicted him to 5 years of jail. But in India, he's still allowed to be a witness. He's still allowed to make these claims for 15 years. It's ridiculous because there's no check. There's no one standing up and saying justice must happen. We must follow the processes. We must give every individual due process. So there's a huge difference where we can see that this SPH was completely exonerated in the US. But in India, in the state of Karnataka, these lies are still there in the Indian lower courts.
Yes, definitely. And there are thousands of court documents, as we can see here as well. Even the California court incriminated Vinay Bharadwaj. His case was the false case that he tried to file against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was immediately dismissed by the California court in 2012.
And it's a literally copy-paste allegations of what he made in India, he made in the US, and the US courts just kicked it out. They fined him nearly $500,000 US and sent him to jail.
So let us see now, more evidence, how they so conveniently cooked this whole story. They fabricated an entire web of lies that was very systematically exposed. All the lies that the the main so-called victim, Arti Rao, fabricated whatever she said in quotes. Actually, she was also when she was asked to appear in court for her statements, she did not even come. So many times she was summoned by the court to come and for her statement, but she did not come. So let us now see the lies of this woman, Arti Rao, who claimed that she was raped by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism.
Exactly. I wanted to point out here, in the Dharmasthala matter, the false victim said over 1,700 graves. It's like a numbers game. You just throw out a big enough number, surely somewhere you're going to find something. That's the attitude. No one's going to check. Let's just lead them on a wild goose case. And by that time, the temple would have been destroyed. The temple's reputation will be so damaged. It doesn't even matter if they find out the truth or not. That's literally the game they're playing. And in the same way, the false victim, Arti Rao, she gave her statements after 6 months of no witness, no one coming forward, and not a single shred of evidence against SPH. They brought her as a anonymous victim. She didn't even come with a name. Just like this Chinaya, who was wearing a mask, she came with a mask, and she didn't even sign her statement. It was under a pseudo name. And she claimed she was abused or raped over 50 times, a big number. She was raped in the US, she said she was raped in India, because she thinks she can get away with it. Because how can you prove this? He said, she said. But she made
not only that.
Yes.
Actually, the dates that she gave from Swamiji's calendar of stores. And when those dates, actually Swamiji did not make of those schedule change. But of course she didn't know. She produced the same date, the code, these different locations, these different countries. But the SPH was not even there.
Exactly.
And she claims on those days she was raped.
Yes, and you know how this was found out? Because in the US, there is a justice system that goes through a process, and a US lawyer subpoenaed the medical records of this woman, Arti Rao, from the University of Michigan on a court order, and literally hundreds of pages of her medical records was released as per the court order as evidence proving that SPH is innocent. And in those medical records, it clearly shows that she is highly contagious with 4 sexually transmitted diseases. Which means even if you come in close contact with her, forget having sex with that woman, even if you come close to her, you will get these STDs. Now, this is not about bashing someone who has STDs. It's about showing how outrageous her claims are. It is impossible that if anyone was doing what she claims to do, that they won't have the same diseases that she has. And this is not something that AI generated or something that we're just saying. It is literally 9 independent doctors from the US, from Cedars-Sinai, from very top-notch medical hospitals in the US and Canada and India, all independently came to the same conclusion. She is lying. It is impossible. And that is what these medical records show. And the other thing, Maprematma, is that it shows that she's sitting in the doctor's office in July, in the same date she's claimed she's raped in India. How can you be in the US and India at the same time? Impossible. So just like the lies of Chinaya were unraveled when the more and more questioning, the more he was asked questions and he started faltering under those. Same way, the more and more evidences that came out, it shows that she's completely fabricating every single statement.
Unbelievable. Actually, it's like, she lying every single detail. But the sad thing, she came to Swamiji for healing. for the same disease. But of course, the truth always prevails. The truth comes out that she has such a contagious disease, even such a close contact could spread the same disease that she has could spread. But of course, the SPH does not have any trace of any such disease. But what is amazing is, given that such stark evidence of the innocence of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, this case is still being dragged on in the Indian High Court.
Exactly. And Vijaypriya, can you go back to that the picture of Aarti Rao? Because this is something undeniably similar with the Dharmasthala case, is the mass victim fearing for their life when exposing the truth, when actually the truth is everyone should be afraid of them for what they're. First of all, she had so many STDs. Second of all, she was lying through her teeth, trying to bring down the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and his entire Hindu institution, Hindu ecosystems, both in the US and India and across the world, through her lies. So the question is, who is funding her? Who is behind her? Who is behind this woman who has the courage to make such sensational falsehoods in the media? But when it came to her being questioned in the US, when it came to her being deposed in the US, when it came to her taking the witness stand in the US, she didn't even show up for a video deposition. Why? Because she would be held accountable for what she said in the US. And whereas in India, in the state of Karnataka, she was allowed to say anything, unchecked.
Definitely. What amazes me is that either the Aarti Rao or this Chinnaya, they are so careful in covering their face, in hiding their identity, when they don't care a damn for whatever money they got from Twitter, go defame either the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism or here in this case, Hegde, left, right and center, thousands of lives. They don't care. But they're so particular to cover their face, their identity, to protect themselves. How is this even right?
And just like Chinnaya is being prosecuted for perjury, Aarti Rao is, there's 2 bench warrants for her arrest. She's fined almost $1 million. And if she goes to the US, she'll be in jail like Vinay Bharadwaj. So it just shows that, like you said, Prematma, the truth does prevail. And it's just a matter of time. But it's important for us to bring forth the truth, not just let it happen. Otherwise, we will have, as Vijayapriya pointed out, more Dharmastalas across the country of India, across the world, unless we take a stand, unless we bring these facts out and show how big the lies are and how atrocious they are.
Yes, and also here we can see on this on the screen here, just like how Chinmaya planted the skull, Aarti Rao also acknowledged of planting the camera in the room of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism so that she and her accomplices could make this deep fake video. And so the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was also tortured. He was literally tortured in the name of a potency tests. Here you can see in 2014, this illegal, and yes, I say it right, the illegal potency test was done on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism to physically torture him. He had to undergo forced masturbation and attempt to force erection through injection, which had the possibility of causing even cardiac arrests. So we can see, yes.
what we just saw here, we apologize for the technical difficulties. Looks like the audio wasn't playing. But literally, this was an example of how far the authorities went, the deep state machinery went to literally torture the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, medically torture the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, so that they could try to garner, again, get fake evidence, which they were not able to do. They took it to violate all human rights by medically torturing, using illegal methods to test the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And finally, at the end of the day, the truth prevailed. When doctors looked at the medical tests of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and the medical tests of the false victims, without a doubt, it showed that these are complete fabrications, complete lies. And actually, we have a few of those excerpts, a few of the medical reports coming up on the screen. Actually, 11 doctors gave independent reports stating that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has no STD, he's not capable of the crimes he's being accused of, medically capable of the crimes he's being accused of, and in fact, they went to even say that the false victim is completely lying. And this is evidence gotten from the US. These are notarized affidavits, all making these statements. And we can go on to the next slide. Basically, these medical reports show that the testosterone level of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is that of an infant child, not even of an infant, of a pubescent male, not even of a female, of an infant child. So where is even the question of the acts he's being accused of? They don't exist. In fact, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's medical reports are medical phenomena. The doctors are amazed, astounded by these medical results, which are not normal for a human being. And this is just because the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has gone through intense yogic practices and processes when he was a prepubescent child. And because of that, his whole physiological body changed, and that was reflected in the medical reports. But the false victim never thought her medical reports would be subpoenaed from the US and that they would be exposed to show that she was lying through her teeth, and there was not a single shred of evidence in what she was saying. She never thought that these medical reports would come to light, because in the US, medical privacy is considered very high and is very well respected. But when someone is making allegations that can put someone in life imprisonment, give someone the death penalty, the justice system will stand up and say, no, he has a right to look at those medical records. And the justice system did stand up and produce those medical records, which are actually, the Supreme Court of India said these are supreme, pristine evidences that should be admitted into the courts in India. So this is something that just goes to show what extreme, when we allow this lawfare to happen, when we allow the media to go rampant and say whatever they want, and do whatever they want, what extremes the authorities, the deep state authorities are able to go unchecked if we stay silent.
Definitely. What shocks here is that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism started his Dharmasthala, started his yoga practices at the age of 3. And here the medical reports, evidence show that he has the testosterone of an infant child. On the other hand, this woman has very contagious STDs, multiple STDs. And these evidences are on our face. But with all the evidences that proving Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is innocent, and with all the evidences that show that this woman is fake, and this Vinay Bharadwaj, who is a child molester, all his allegations are fake, still the media takes the law on its hand, and the illegal lawfare on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. And after 15 years, deep state is still able to drag this useless faltu case. This is what is shocking, that we can see the parallels as to it is a cookie cutter model. Attack after attack, temple after temple, guru after guru. It is the same repetition. You file a false rape case, a murder case. There would be no evidence, not even a single victim, but you go on a hunt. In the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, they go on a hunt, announcing, publishing on Facebook, on social media, asking for victims. Where do you ever see such things? But you take the law on your hands to persecute, to illegally arrest, without any victim, without any evidence, without even a charge.
We'd like to invite our panelists also, Ma Sadashivapriya and Ma Purnapriya, to also give a few words from their standpoint on what's happening in Dharmasthala and the parallel happenings in the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism 15, 20 years ago.
Yes, Nithyananda.
Yes.
We have been seeing for over the last few months how in Dharmasthala an ecosystem is being attacked at large, and how Hindus all over the world are staying silent about an extremely important crisis. It is time that we Hindus all over the world stand and bring out our voices on what is truly important to us, our ancient heritage.
And as we've been hearing about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's persecution over the last 15 plus years, it is not an isolated incident, as we've seen. It is continuously repeating over and over with different Hindu gurus, different Hindu institutions. And it is only after we stand as Hindus together that we can stop this persecution, stop this violence against Hindus.
If we see side by side the conspiracy going on against Dharmasthala and this persecution that happened against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, date by date, there is an exact match. For example, on June 22nd in 2025, the media, not the police, not the court, the media had released a letter full of allegations about the Dharmasthala temple. It was the media that first came out with the news. On March 2nd in 2010, the same way, the same strategy was used. It was not the police or court that you went to, which anyone would go to in a proper due process. But since this is a trial by media, it was the media first that had published a fabricated, obscene video aimed to hurt and destroy the religious sentiments of billions across the world. It was this that set the entire modus operandi of the deep state, the Hindu-phobic, Hindu-mesic elements against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, that set the stage that this was not a fair trial. This was not going to go according to any due process, but this was going to be a trial by media. It was only after that, same in Dharmasthala and same in the case of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, that a fake, obscene, horrifying, astonishing complaint was filed with the police, filled with lies.
Not only lies, no victim, no allegations. See, it's one thing when you have a complaint with lies, but literally there was no victim in that complaint. There was no even word rape is not in that complaint. This is the first time in Indian history, maybe the history of the entire world, where someone is prosecuted for rape when the original complaint didn't even allege rape.
Yes, Ma. And we see it was absolutely false. There is no legal standing in any definition of the term. The months after that, a complete brutal media brigade, we should say, a hate speech brigade was launched against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. 14,000 hours just in that 2 days alone was broadcasted on the media, on thousands of media channels, in global media news, on the internet. And literally at that time, it was the most repeated ad nausea news that was ongoing in all channels, literally demolishing all religious sentiments of all of us against the being whom we saw whom was God to us. In this way, the anti-Hindu deep state machinery was literally trying to crumble the Hindu civilization that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism had revived.
And if you see actually in the case of Dharmasthala, the reports show that there have been 8,000 YouTube videos about this Dharmasthala case, about this fake mass burials, mass graves. And it's the same situation, maybe different outlets, but same nexus that is attacking Hindus and Hindu gurus, literally choking the Hindu ecosystem through multiple means, where literally the public opinion is completely carved by this anti-Hindu nexus, this Hindu music, Hindu-phobic nexus that has been unfortunately infiltrating in all aspects, whether it's media, social media, the judicial system. And unfortunately, Hindus are still staying silent about it. And we've seen it in multiple cases over the years. And unfortunately, it's not going to stop unless Hindus decide to stand up and voice out against this horrendous persecution.
I just want to add one point here. Yes, sorry, Madhyanath. I just want to add one point here. See, during this whole persecution that was happening in 2010, I was in Bengaluru, right, at that time in Adi Kailash. And this was the first, such a huge extent, such an attack was happening on the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, on the ashram. We were too naive. We did not realize that the media is, it is a plan, like conspiracy where the media is also involved. We were not aware. So we go innocently, approach this media to see, this is the truth. There's no such thing is happening. It's a beautiful ashram, programs happen. We were trying to explain the truth to them to show that there's nothing like that happening. But we were shocked to know they were not looking for truth. They were part of the conspiracy. It was a huge shock. We were really innocent and naive to go to the media and say, hey, no such thing is happening. It is, Bhagavan has given such beautiful programs. This is what we went to share. But we were shocked to see that they were not looking for truth. They were paid media who had, deliberately spreading false news. I was really shocked at that time.
And that's part of the tactic, right? To make the followers who support the institutions, who support the gurus, and go running around looking for lawyers, go running around trying to fight the fires, and really miss what actually is happening. And what Purnapriya mentioned, there's a word she used, ecosystem. The Dharmasthala is a Hindu ecosystem. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was creating ecosystems, not just in India, but around the world. It is important. It's not that a Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism gave one talk and many people came, or Dharmasthala had one anadan and many people came. They were literally reviving the core tenets, the foundations of Hinduism, and making it repeatable, making it something that the common person can attain, making it something that the celebrities want to be a part of. They were touching all aspects of society, making Hinduism, showing its utility value. And that is a threat to those who are anti-Hindu, those who don't want to see a Hindu civilization being the majority, who don't want to see Hinduism rise and having that soft power. And that is why they attacked Dharmasthala. They're attacking Dharmasthala because it's a Hindu ecosystem which is there for generations, doing so much good to the society. The same way, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, since his advent on the planet Earth, has been doing so much good to society, sacrificing his very life to ensure that Hinduism is here, not just now, but for generations to come. And that is why we're seeing these such precise attacks, that unimaginable attacks happening over periods of time. We're talking two events. It looks like one event happened yesterday, one happened today. But one event happened over 15 years ago and is still happening today.
And they have not changed their strategy. That is the funniest thing. They have not changed the strategy. It is temple after temple, guru after temple, after guru. They are using the same cookie cutter model, and the media, the anti-Hindu elements, the deep state elements, they feel they can get away with it and repeating the same thing. It is, it is not just the anti-Hindu elements. As long as the criminally negligent Hindus do not take action, do not step up, do not raise their voice, we can see that the same cookie cutter model, the same attack is bound to repeat again. At one day, at a point in time, we never thought, few hundred years back, we never thought Afghanistan would become a Muslim country. We never thought Pakistan would become a Muslim country. We never thought we would lose Bangladesh. We would never thought so many countries. We never thought, we would have lost Bharat as a Hindu country. But today, what we see, that is the reality. And if the criminally negligent Hindus do not wake up or raise their voice, we clearly see where we are heading.
Yes. And unfortunately, this persecution against Hindus is not something new. Hindus have been facing this for over 700 years. This onslaught, ever since the invasions started, ever since colonization has started, Hindus have been facing this brutal persecution, which we had never experienced before. Of course, our lifestyle itself is about ahimsa. It is something completely unknown for Hindus. And when this onslaught of persecution, attacks, invasions, massacres, iconoclasm, everything, Hindus were not prepared for it because of our lifestyle, our principles. And as you can see here, the statistics speak for themselves. Millions of Hindus have been massacred during the Islamic invasions.
The first stage of the Hindu Holocaust, as we have come to recognize it, because it's not just a genocide, it is not just a persecution against Hinduism. It's a Holocaust that happened over 700 years, and accounting in numbers that are unfathomable in comparison. The first stage was the destruction of the hardware of Hinduism, destruction of the massive Hindu temples that demonstrated sciences that were far advanced than any single civilization on planet Earth at the time. If you can see here, these are just an example of the numbers of Hindus that were killed, massacred, displaced,
enslaved, raped, murdered.
Over the course of the entire Islamic invasion that happened in the Hindu civilization, in all of the 56 and more nations of Hinduism that were once there, all of them had undergone an onslaught of Muslim invasions that had seen violence that was so brutal and to the extreme of adharma that Hindus ourselves, we had never seen before. Because even in our wars, we had followed dharma. We had followed the regulations of a fair battle. But this was simply inhumane massacre. What we're seeing here is just a few illustrations in order for all of us to understand and grasp it. But don't feel that this is any less serious because these are just illustrations. The amount of death that has occurred because of the Hindu Holocaust, because of these invasions, is unfathomable. Even the travelers who have written in this period of time have recorded the amount of brutal violence, how Hindus were simply bludgeoned to death on a stick. This is how brutal it was. Now, coming to the next stage, as if we had, after having such a brutal, ruthless invasion by the Muslim invasions for almost 500 years, the British occupation of Bharat had started.
And this was the psychological destruction of the Hindu civilization. Though the British colonization was not as physically brutal, it played into the mind, the psyche of the Hindu civilization. And over the course of just 200 years, Bharat went from one of the richest countries, contributing over 40% of the world's GDP, to a developing nation, as it's known, or literally the poster child for third world poverty.
This compromised at various stages. For example, the destruction of the Hindu Gurukul system, which is the most pivotal system inside the backbone of Sanatana Hindu Dharma. Here you can see some of the statistics of how many indigenous schools were there prior to the British occupation and how many were there after just a few years of their occupation, after literally dismantling the Gurukul system and bringing in new laws that trophied English education, that put in the back burner, destroyed the ancient indigenous arts, the mercantilism, the ancient Vedic arts that were all a part of the Hindu lifestyle. The British literally exploited each and every aspect of every rich field that we had, and then left the Bharat civilization with absolutely nothing. The entire Hindu civilization spanned all over the world, not just in the southern subcontinent of Asia, but towards Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, towards Indonesia, and up north towards Afghanistan. Even we have references in the Puranas where the Hindu civilization, Hindus had traveled all the way to the Andes, and even in California, there are references in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, in the Mahabharata, which shows that the Kapila Muni had traveled to places in the United States and North America. Hindus had spanned and established civilization all over the world and established kingdoms. At its prime in the Mahabharata, there was at least 56 Hindu nations. But as of 2007, just 22 years ago, the Hindu civilization had not a single country. There was 0 nations that existed on planet Earth. From millions of square kilometers, we were down to 0. And today, Hindus are literally orphaned. without a single nation to call our own.
Except Kailasa. It is only due to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's tireless hard work over the last 40 plus years that Hindus even have a place to call their own, a nation to call their own. It is because of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's sacrifice for Hindus, despite this relentless persecution that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has had to face over the last 15 plus years. And it is because of this that each and every Hindu out there has a home, a refuge for each of us to be able to practice Hinduism, to live the Hindu lifestyle that our ancestors have given us.
But if each and every one of us don't wake up to the fact that the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the only voice for Hindus right now, and we are dwindling in numbers, and we continue not only facing Holocaust denial among the people who are anti-Hindu, who want to suppress us further, but even inside of us, not understanding the intense amount of Holocaust denial that each and every one of us are deluded in, we will not see our next generation be able to enjoy the fruits of Hinduism. Hinduism has so much to contribute to the world and to be able to give to the world. But if we continue like this, we will not even be able to see the next generation be able to enjoy anything that we have enjoyed. For example, just in 2024, the targeted violent attacks of Hindus in Bangladesh amounted over 2,000 incidents of violence.
Yes, and this is not isolated. If you see in Afghanistan, there were over 200,000 Hindus just a little over 40 years ago in the 70s. Now, there are just less than 1,000 Hindus left. The story is no different when it comes to Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh. All of these once Hindu nations, Hindu civilizations have now chased out and completely massacred the Hindu population that once thrived there.
As you can see here, the Hindu Holocaust in Bangladesh had killed up to 3 million people in just 1 year. And it accounted for the rape of 350,000 women, 10 million Hindus who had to flee from Bangladesh, which was their home for thousands of years. And internally in Bangladesh, 30 million Hindus were displaced. By 2024, less than 9% of the population is Hindu, whereas just thousands of years ago, 1,000 years ago, almost 1,000 years ago, the entire nation was completely Hindu. What has happened in the last 1,000 years where Hindus are literally wiped out completely? And which country will we see next dissolve when it comes to Hindu population? We really need to wake up now to understand all these truths and stand for our heritage, stand for every single sacrifice of our ancestors who had been through so much just to protect the Guru Parampara, just to protect the Hindu temples, to protect each and every aspect of Hinduism that is surviving until today. They literally died for us. They gave their own blood for us. If we are not able to stand up for our ancestors who have literally given so much, then what kind of Hindus can we call ourselves? Even today, living with the incarnation of Paramashiva, we are not even able to recognize how much Swamiji has been sacrificing, how much Swamiji has been through over the last 15 years of continuous trials, even though there are 0 victims and 0 convictions. Where is the media when it comes to the exonerations? Why is there a blackout completely on the exoneration of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism of all allegations? How dare the media go to the extent of still repeating old rotting lies about allegations about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. It is time now that we stop all of these lies. The media should know better by now what will happen or what Hindus will do if they continue these lies.
Yes. Just a little bit. Okay. And it is only because of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's continuous, tireless hard work over the last 40 plus years that Hindus even have a voice or even are awakened to what is happening out there to Hindus. Before the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Hindus and the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's continuous support, activism, and building Kailasa, the only Hindu nation, Hindus did not even understand what was happening to them, the persecution that was going on, and how their lifestyle was dwindling. The
richness of Hinduism was literally being burnt to ashes.
Yes.
This is the state of Hinduism today.
And it is only because of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's continuous, tireless hard work that we are able to even have a home for Hindus today. So I urge each and every one of you to voice out against this brutal persecution against Hindus, against the one being, the incarnation, who has stood for Hindus from the beginning.
There are so many ways that you would be able to stand up. Even if you think you're just a YouTube video passing by, right now, you can sign a petition in order to support Kailasa, in order to support the only Hindu nation in the world, in order to voice out how important it is that we need a nation today. We need a place where Hindus will be protected, where the sciences of Sanatana Hindu Dharma will continue to remain safe. You can sign this petition today and voice out in order to stand with Kailasa and stand with the Hindu tradition. If you know and see the amount of brutality that is going on against Hindu gurus, against Dharmasthala, then you have to start acting today.
Yes, and you can visit parliament.kailasa.ai and sign this petition, voice out, make your voice be heard, amplify your voice, and ensure that Hindus have a home, not just a home, but a next generation to celebrate with.
I urge each and every one of the viewers to use this as an opportunity to stand now. We are not going to be surviving. Let's be clear that what happened with Dharmasthala is not an investigation, as the media continuously tells. It's an assault. It's a targeted attack against Hindus. And if we Hindus are spineless to stand up against it, then we'll be completely wiped out. Use this as an opportunity to amplify your voice, amplify all Hindus' voices. Because if not, it's not just going to take one Hindu voice to stand up for Hindus and to make it happen. It's all of us together that need to come together and stand.
Yes, so you can visit parliament.kailasa.ai. And I encourage each and every one of you to share it with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and make sure that your voice is heard, that your next generation has a place to practice Hinduism safely. And with this, we humbly offer our gratitude to the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, who has made a home for each and every Hindu out there through his tireless sacrifice over the last 40 years. With this, we'll end with the Punya Mantra.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sarvam Bhagavat Shri Nithyananda Paramashiva Padukarpanamastu. Om Nithyanandam